Department source that I've talked to that the shooter has also been taken into custody. We're trying to figure out exactly the extent of injuries and what's going on. There is a massive police presence on that campus right now. Of course, Florida State, one of the largest universities in the state of Florida. The area that you see there is normally bustling with students. If you look at social media, you see dozens of students running. There have been reports of several shots being heard. We know the sheriff's department, the local police department, and the FBI all responding to that area to see exactly what's going on. We have not been told of what the disturbance and how it started just yet. We're hoping for more updates from officials. You do see the ambulances there and the first responders who've decided to go there. I've actually talked to an officer on scene. They were trying to get students from that student union area to safety. Once again, we're told one suspect in custody and at least 4 others who have been taken to the hospital. So we're trying to figure out the extent of these injuries. But you see the live pictures right there, the massive amount of police presence at one of Florida's largest universities. And of course, there's a lot of focus on exactly what happened in that student union area. As a person who attended that university, I can tell you that's usually the most active part of that campus. It's really the hub of that university. So many students, especially around that noon time, will be in that area going to lunch or between classes as they hang out throughout the day. So you can understand the amount of pressure that's on law enforcement to figure out if there's any other people who are involved in this. We do know, again, 4 injuries, been taken to the hospital, active shooter in custody. Boris and Erica, we're still trying to develop all our resources to figure out exactly what's going on at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. We also want to bring in with us CNN law enforcement analyst Jonathan Wackrow, who's with us. So, you know, as Ryan was just laying out for us there, and we see in these pictures this heavy police presence. We know of at least 4 people, according to Ryan's reporting, who have been brought in for medical attention. A suspect is in custody. That being said, there is this shelter-in-place order. We know a number of people are sheltering in place just from our own reporting as well. How long will it be? What will it take? I guess, what is that checklist to know that there is no longer a threat on campus?
Well, listen, good afternoon. You know, this is a stark reminder that really just underscores the dynamic and unpredictable nature of these horrific events. You know, as Ryan was saying, how active the school university is today and where the shooting location was around the student union is the nucleus of the school. It draws a lot of attention by students and visitors alike. Just by example, just look at the school calendar, the event calendar. There are dozens of things scheduled right now that are ongoing at the school that are bringing people there. So it's a very densely populated environment. And law enforcement knows that. That's why you see such a significant response by federal, local, and state officials to respond to this. And that response is really focused on 4 key areas to prioritize how law enforcement is responding to these active shooter situations. First, they want to stop the active shooter in progress. And we, you know, the good thing here is we know that we have at least 1 suspect in custody. We don't know, though, if there are other threats that are out there. Police will quickly work to ascertain if this was a lone actor or if this is a more coordinated attack. The second key thing is rescue victims. You know, we heard that there were victims that were sent to the hospital. We don't know their condition, but it is a priority of law enforcement that after they address the primary threat of the active shooting, that they rescue the victims and provide medical assistance. And the fourth is they need to preserve the crime scene. You know, we don't know how large this is, but if this shooter was moving about buildings and throughout the campus, we may have multiple crime scenes that are in place, and law enforcement needs to secure those for any items of evidentiary value. So there's a lot of things that are going on simultaneously with the law enforcement and medical response right now. But from what I have seen and what has been reported, the response and communications that is coming from law enforcement has been almost textbook. A rapid response. They activated their active shooter protocols. Everyone knew their roles and responsibilities. I'm sure that the incident command structure that is typically established for these type of critical events is in place, and we should be hearing more from law enforcement shortly about the current status of the threat.
And we are hearing more from FSU, the university putting out a statement on social media just moments ago saying continue to shelter in place. Police have responded to an active shooter call at the student union. They go on to say that all university classes and events scheduled for the day have been canceled. We also have with us retired FBI Special Agent Rob D'Amico, who is following the news alongside us. Rob, I wonder, when you consider what an active shooter at a student union looks like, because there have been so many shootings at institutions of higher learning over the last few years, a lot of these soft targets, as they're called, have been hardened up. But I wonder what you imagine the security is like at a student union at a school the size of FSU.
It's just so hard to secure. I mean, it's students walking in, they have backpacks, they have things that, you can hide a gun in, that you're not going to be able to search everything. So again, when you look at what you can secure, you can't secure everything. You can have really good procedures, which I think the last commenter talked about, is they reacted well. And the thing is, with universities, with their police departments, they go over these. They do tabletop exercises, and you can start telling now that they all understand the different roles and responsibilities that have to get brought in immediately to this. I think one of the big things is we saw with the Chapel Hill shooting that they did not get word out quick enough that someone was in custody, and you started having students actually jumping out of buildings. So hopefully they tell them to stay in place, because that helps the organization getting witnesses and looking at locking things down, but doing it uniformly and how they do it, but at least telling students that someone is in custody, so they're not panicked and doing things that are actually more dangerous than sitting where they're at. Because that happened, and I think that was one of the after action reports. And I know all these universities are talking to each other that have shootings, and when they do tabletop exercises and when they review their policies, that they're getting input for the last ones that happened and best actions that were taken.
We also want to go back to Ryan. I'm going to go back to you. I understand you have some new information about what we're learning. What more are you hearing at this?
And I want to say this, coming off that last commentator, which is basically, let's not forget, FSU had 3 people shot back in 2014 at the library. This is a university that's paid special attention to trying to deal with active shooters. So just like you said, the massive response there, it is close to the Capitol. I was talking to one of my friends who's on scene there at the student union, and he was actually the source telling me that he was following a blood trail because there was some sort of blood trail that was leading away from the student union. So they are still trying to assess this as we are talking right now, trying to figure out all the pieces and to make sure they have all the victims here. There are a lot of terrified students. Even in the phone call that I had, you could hear people in the background rushing by who were very upset, obviously trying to get away from the scene. So when you add all the pieces together and you know that it's near the state capitol, it's a large university, it's dealt with a shooting back in 2014 before, you can see why there was a massive response, and B, how they got the alerts out very quickly at a campus that's really the lifeblood of that city. When you think about the presence of Florida State, how large it is, and how many people who graduated from that university in that area, there's so many people who work for that university. This really put the entire city on pause when something like this happens.
Important context there. We actually have sound from a witness, a student, who shared what they saw. Let's listen.
How are you feeling right now?
Like nervous. I'm scared for my friends. I'm making sure I'm checking up on them, and I just hope everyone's okay and this gets handled soon.
And you said you weren't on campus when the shooting happened?
No, I was parking my car, walking back, and as I was walking back, I see these group of girls crying, really upset, walking back from the student union, told me they heard gunshots, and they just ran and came back to their apartment where I was walking to.
Yeah. So what's going through your mind seeing that your school has had a shooting?
Honestly, I just hope everyone's okay, and I hope that we can just do better precautions so this doesn't happen again. And I just feel awful for the students on there having to go through these emotions right now, dealing with scared for their lives, honestly. It's really scary.
And you said you had friends on campus at the time?
Yes, right now. They're still on campus. They're on lockdown right now.
And you've heard from them, they're doing okay?
Yep. Texted them. They just said they're scared, they're in lockdown, and they just want to go home.
Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I just hope everyone's okay, praying for the people that are injured, and I just hope we can do better in the future.
All right, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So again, that's a witness, a student at Florida State University, where we've learned that at least 4 people have been hurt. And apparently there is a suspect in custody after a shooting at the student union at the university. I want to ask Jonathan Wackrow, it's interesting, Jonathan, that we've learned that there is a suspect in custody, and yet the university has put out this warning for everyone in the area to shelter in place. I wonder what you make of that.
Really, this is out of caution, right? Because the primary threat, the primary shooting has now stopped. You can, you see that the law enforcement, what they're doing now is they have the suspect in custody. They're trying to ascertain, was this a lone actor, or is this somebody that is working with other groups, or were they inspired by somebody? Are they directed by somebody? So they have to assess that this is the single threat. And that there's no other. So out of an abundance of caution, public safety officials are putting out the word to remain sheltered in place. It also helps law enforcement, again, set up their perimeter and establish the various crime scenes that I had stated before. And it really is just a process element that's part of the overall communication structure that the public information officers will need to be continuously putting out from here on out to really lower anxiety that the primary threat is down, and really be transparent about what actions are being taken. Now, one critical point that we haven't heard right now, and it ties back to what Ryan was saying, is family reunification or reunification to victims. We do know that people were taken to the hospital. There is probably, in a densely populated area like this, there's probably walking wounded that are going to seek medical care on their own. So establishing a formalized structure to reunify individuals and loved ones with family members is critically important. That will be the next evolution of communication that comes out once we get the all safe from public safety.
Rob, also in terms of determining when it is time for that all safe to be issued, part of that in terms of determining whether there may still be a threat will be if there is a person, right? So we're told there's a suspect in custody. If that person is talking, part of what one would imagine they'll be asking this person is, they're going to be looking into any social media, obviously, immediately as soon as they get an identification here, but whether there could have been anyone else involved. That information is going to be key right now.
Yes, absolutely. And as part of, you don't have to read them your rights when you ask questions like that. Though normally you would, but it's public safety that you're after. So if you're asking them if there's another suspect, did you do this with someone else? You actually don't have to read them the Miranda rights. And those statements can actually still be used against the person later on, because you're trying to determine something for public safety. And there's been the Quarles exception's been out there for a while that you don't have to do that. So hopefully the police know that, hey, you don't have to read them the Miranda rights, but you can ask about, was someone else involved? Is someone else looking at doing any damage to the university? Did you work with someone? Because you're trying to determine if there's another threat out there. And the courts have found that you can do that without the Miranda warnings.
I just want to let our viewers know these are live images coming from Tallahassee on the campus of FSU, and you saw just now, actually a moment ago, a number of students appearing to be walking out of campus, and then you see a police vehicle with sirens on escorting these numerous white vans that appear to show FSU logos on them. Jonathan, I wonder, as this scene is being processed with something of this scale, you were just discussing a moment ago, the different scenarios, this is a big footprint for law enforcement to process. Walk us through what that's like.
Well, listen, law enforcement really needs to identify the boundaries of these crime scenes. And, obviously we have a centralized location of the student union where we believe most of the shooting took place. But we also have multiple others. If the shooter drove in a vehicle, that vehicle can be part of the crime scene. If the student lives on campus or nearby, their apartment can be part of the crime scene, where that needs to be secured by law enforcement in advancement of getting a search warrant to search either the vehicle or apartment. Again, so identifying the boundaries of the crime scene, preserving those crime scenes so they're not tampered with, and then secondarily is preserving any type of evidence that is there. So that's why you're going to see a really meticulous action by law enforcement, especially around that student union, because as we heard Ryan say earlier, there was, from his contact that there was a blood trail. We don't know, is that from the shooter or is that from a potential victim? So anything like that we need to identify and preserve. And that's what law enforcement again is quickly trying to do. That is why you see such a big response from federal, state, and local law enforcement, because there are a lot of actions that need to take place right now.
Absolutely. Ryan, Jonathan, Rob, stay with us. We are going to fit in a quick break here. If you're just joining us, we are following the breaking news out of Florida. A suspect is in custody after a shooting at Florida State University. We know at least 4 people have been brought to the hospital, at least 4 injured. We'll have much more on the other side of this break.
And we're following breaking news right here on Dr. Phil's Merit TV. We're going to remain with you. An active shooter again. A situation has been reported at Florida State University's campus in Tallahassee. It all started around 12:20 Eastern. An alert went out from Florida State University police alerting students and professors that there was an active shooter near the student union. Reports also say the shooter is in custody right now. Just one shooter as of right now. We don't know if he's a lone actor or not. We also know, according to the local hospital, there are 4 students that have been injured and at the local hospital there in Tallahassee. We know that there's also a large police presence right now at the university. The school is near the state capitol, again, in Tallahassee. It's a large school, 30,000 plus students. The school is on lockdown, remains to be on lockdown. In fact, there was a message sent out on X earlier about the alert. Then about 40 minutes later, there was another alert saying all activities and classes have been canceled for the day. We also know businesses and secondary schools around that area have also been warned as well and on lockdown. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis responding to the news about 15 minutes ago. Quote, "Our prayers are with our FSU family, and state law enforcement is actively responding." Once again, there's the FSU alert that you just saw there that was on X earlier. You see the video from students, from professors. You see law enforcement heading to the student union. We know that if you're familiar with a college campus, student unions around, and we believe this is video right here, a law enforcement agent tending to a student there, right there. If you're familiar with the college campuses, you know student unions are very busy around noon, lunch, students going to and from classes as well. We know the spring break in Florida was the last several weeks. We know that kids are back on campus. And so let's bring in right now to Dr. Phil's Merit TV, Jonathan Gilliam, former FBI agent and Navy SEAL, always coming on in situations like this. We hate to bring you on because of another active shooter, but Jonathan, this follows a couple of days ago out of Dallas, Wilmer Hutchins High School. Again, an active shooter, a lone actor, 4 students injured. This time it's at Florida State University. And Jonathan, you know this is not the first time it has happened there at that campus in Tallahassee.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing about that campus, well, all these college campuses really, is that they are so open. It's not like a school, like a high school or elementary school where they're somewhat closed off. I mean, we've seen that shooters can still access those as well, but universities are pretty wide open. And so typically it's not a difficult thing for individuals to get onto those campuses and carry out something like this. What is typically the case we've seen, though, at universities is that they are individuals that attend the university. It's rare that somebody walks on that is not associated with that university, either working there or attending in some way, shape, or form. So I would not doubt if that's what the case is here.
We also want to bring in retired Sergeant Betsy Branner-Smith, spokesperson for the National Police Association. Betsy, I was on a large campus this past weekend for one of my daughters, Ole Miss University, University of Mississippi. Jonathan's right. You just pull up, cars are there, people are there. But talk about the response, not only from the university putting that alert out on social media, but the large police presence we saw at that university. And again, going back 2024, going back 2014, we've seen active shooters on that campus before. So I believe a lot of people are saying they are well prepared for something like this.
They absolutely are. I've been to this campus many times, and law enforcement in and around the Tallahassee area is absolutely ready for this. Look, a college campus is just like a small city. So you're going to have all the same activity, all of the same, whether it's an armed robbery or a gang shooting, or it is a targeted shooting of a student, or whether it's a random shooting. The same thing that happens in American cities happens on college campuses. We also have a lot of angst right now on some college campuses around the country. We've got a lot of protests, anti-Semitism, pro-Palestinian stuff, and just a general tension on college campuses now. But what we have to do is let law enforcement do their job, pray for the people that are injured and affected, and see how this shakes out.
All right, Jonathan, she just said let law enforcement do their job. What is their job right now? They have a person in custody. What are they doing right now? Because we saw the large presence earlier, 30,000 plus students. That's a very large campus as far as geography, correct?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And like Betsy said, it's like a small city. And searching and clearing that university. At the same time, they're trying to get people that, as they go from building to building, out of that space, or making sure that they are locked down and secured. So you have a lot, and also at the same time, they're keeping a perimeter to keep people from coming in. So you have lots of different things going on. At the same time, it is a crime scene. So as things are cleared, they have to hold those spaces, because if there was something that happened there, then the investigation is going to have to take place. But right now, the priority, of course, is not just saying, oh, we've got the shooter. They have to continue to clear that entire space and make sure that there's not multiple people there that are taking part in this.
And Betsy, correct me if I'm wrong, the university canceled all activities, but they've also gone outside the perimeter with secondary schools, elementaries, middle schools, high schools, and businesses as well, shutting those down. I'm guessing that's the right thing to do, just to make sure that, again, there are no more actors out there, active shooters.
It is absolutely the right thing to do. I mean, you just don't know when there's a shooting on any kind of campus. You have got to err on the side of caution in an extreme way. Plus, let's just face it, parents are going to be on edge, and the entire community is going to be on edge. So it's a really good call for them to cancel all of the schools, get everybody home, get home safe. And like Jonathan said, just because we have one person in custody doesn't mean there's there are not additional shooters out there. Law enforcement has to contain this crime scene. They've got to seek out any additional victims and suspects. And then really the long investigation begins. Once we've got suspects identified, there are search warrants to obtain. You've got to try and obtain the motive and things like that. So it's a great idea to just get everybody home, settle down, and let this thing work itself out.
Jonathan, we always do stories here on the news about the negativity of social media, some of the aspects of that. This is obviously a positive time to have social media, because this is what students are looking at all day long around campus. What about those students, though? They're locked down in those rooms. What's the message going forward as far as officers going into rooms? Set the scene for us, because like I said, I was on a college campus. My daughter's a junior at the University of Georgia. My other daughter graduated from a large campus. I know the campus setting. I went to school to a large campus, University of Texas. I know how important it is. It's a big campus. When you're going in these rooms, the surprises there for law enforcement, students with backpacks, they're holding things, phones. Set the scene for us, how distressful that is for law enforcement right now.
So you've heard of these SWAT cases, right, where people send in, they call in a fake shooting or something in someone's home, and law enforcement shows up. When you hear the people who've been swatted describe what they go through and the terror of that, because you have armed law enforcement showing up, searching for something that is not there. Well, it's very similar here. It's really the same thing. These people, probably most of them, have no idea what's going on. They start to get trickles of information coming in from the university saying that there's an active shooter, and the next thing you know, armed law enforcement is all over their campus, moving towards where the last place that shooter was located. So for the law enforcement officers that are showing up, it's a very focused, it may seem chaotic, but they are running towards the shooter now. As before Columbine, it wasn't quite like this, but they have a focus on where they need to go. When it comes to the students, however, that panic that you hear people talk about when they're swatted, that is what can creep in there, most likely is in there. And so they have to have a plan before this ever occurs. And most people do not, but you see how important that is now, because just like a celebrity needs to plan on the fact that it could happen to them, students at colleges, people that go into the grocery store, you have to have a plan to understand that this could happen, and how are you going to react? Because if you don't, that terror that these people talk about when they get swatted, that's exactly what people are going to feel here.
Betsy, the state capitol is right down the street. How scary is that, knowing that there are lawmakers there? Is there a lockdown there, heightened security? What do you do in a situation like that?
I would suspect that they are at least allowing for some heightened security. Obviously, they're going to notify the legislators there because, again, this is the state capitol. And I can tell you, as a law enforcement trainer, I'm very familiar with FDLE, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. And to Jonathan's point, they conduct active shooter training extremely frequently. And in fact, there's a police academy right in Tallahassee. And so they are undoubtedly prepared. But until the shooter or shooters are identified and a motive is uncovered, when you do add in that fact that it's in the state capitol, this puts an extra burden on law enforcement to make sure those legislators are safe. Plus, you got to look at all the other college campuses, too, in and around the Tallahassee area.
And let's remind our viewers, once again, around 12:20 Eastern, there were reports coming out of the University of Florida State University in Tallahassee. That message right there went out to students and professors and employees of the very large campus in Tallahassee. This is an emergency message from Florida State University's Tallahassee campus. Continue to shelter in place due to an active shooter situation near the student union. We're hearing reports that the shooter is in custody right now. We're also hearing from the local hospital that there are 4 people injured. Right now, we don't know the injuries of that. We want to keep Sergeant Betsy Branter-Smith, Jonathan Gilliam. Stay tuned right now. We're going to tune into CNN, our colleagues over there, with updated students. Listen in.
Kids, right, who are teenagers now, their entire school life, they have gone through active shooters. Does that also happen at the university level for you?
So when you're first oriented at FSU, you will go through a bunch of orientation stuff, and then they will require you to watch an active shooter video. And that is to prepare you for anything that happens. And this was pretty much in a good way. All right, we're being evacuated right now. So if I put my phone away, you will hear nothing.
Sure.
We understand. So you were moved into this one space. You were in a different space, moved into another building, which we're not naming. You're now being moved to another space in that same building, or do you know if you're being brought to a different building?
We do not know. It could be that we're leaving, but I'm not going to speculate.
Sure, sure. And Garrett, talk to us about this area.
Or loved ones
Let's actually listen for a moment.
Pick you up right now. Your phones probably aren't going to work real well because everybody's on their phone. If you get lost, you need a ride, you need to find your friends because you're not sure where they're at. We're trying to get everybody to the Civic Center. So everyone got that? All right, so if you're confused, Civic Center. Confused, ask an officer and we'll do our best.
So, Garrett, you just got instructions there from an official as to what to do next. I wonder if you could give us a description of what the student union is like on a regular Thursday. We understand that that's essentially where the incident happened, or at least from law enforcement, that's where they're scanning right now. Talk to us about what it's like on just a random day.
Yeah, so the student union is very packed, especially around the time that this happened. 11 a.m. people start to flock in the union more often to get food and work on their activities and schoolwork. That's sometimes where I am going to study. So it is usually a very busy place. I actually worked at the student union, but I was not on shift today, obviously. But it is a very active place across campus, especially in the morning, late morning, and into early afternoon.
And we're grateful that you're okay, obviously. I wonder, Garrett, when you think about what happened today and what apparently happened at FSU about 10 years ago, if you ever imagined that when you were going off to college, you were going to face a situation like this?
Yeah, no, it's no situation that anyone should be dealing with, no matter what. I mean, you shouldn't have to think about that when you're going to school trying to get your degree, because I'm graduating in 2 weeks. And it's just, I mean, in general, it should not happen to anyone, no matter what. So that's the main takeaway, is that, you go to school to get your degree, make friends, make memories. You're not supposed to go to school to experience stuff like this.
Yeah, you're right. We heard that official just saying how the lines are going to be jammed, right? We're grateful that you're taking a minute to talk to us and to walk us through everything that's happening there on the ground. Have you been able to get in touch with your family, with your friends on campus to make sure that everyone you know is okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I did as much as I can. First thing I reached out to was my parents.
Yeah.
And I have been keeping them updated as much as I can. I probably will update them again in just a second as soon as I get off. But yes, I have been keeping in touch with friends, family, everyone that I know.
How's you're sheltered in place there with a significant number of people, you told us. How is everyone handling? I mean, you seem fairly calm. I mean, I can also hear a little bit more in your voice, but you're very calm in this moment with us now on the air. How's everybody else doing?
I mean, a lot of us are relatively calm because we are in a safe spot. But obviously it's more of a calm fear, because we are definitely terrified with what happened. I can't speak for everyone, but I mean, for me personally, I'm terrified, but right now I'm in a safe spot, so I feel slightly better, but not really.
Understandably so. I mean, anyone, I think, would be shaken in the situation that you're facing. Garrett, when you reached out to your parents, was it via text message? Was it a phone call? What did they share with you?
It was text message. I said there was a shooting. I'm hunkering down, and I would stay off, any sort of line for several minutes to allow first responders to pretty much use open communication, because I knew it was going to be clogged and there's going to be a lot of people calling. So I texted them that. They kind of stayed down for a few minutes, and then I pretty much called them just saying, "Hey, I'm fine. I don't think he's anywhere near us," and that I'll just keep them in touch.
Yeah. I think they would probably love to hear from you again. I say that as a mom over here. Garrett, we are grateful that you took the time to speak with us and walk us through what's happening. Really glad to hear that you are okay, although understandably terrified. Thank you again. Call your parents, and we will check in with you again. Thanks, Garrett.
Thanks.
Okay, great.
We want to continue our breaking news coverage here on Dr. Phil's Merit TV. Let's bring in Jonathan Gilliam. And Jonathan, we just heard, once again, reminding viewers, an active shooter scenario about an hour and a half. Florida State University sending out an alert on social media that there is one suspect in custody, 4 injured on the campus earlier, around an hour ago. We just heard from a young student there, Garrett Harvey, speaking with our colleagues at CNN, talking about, we heard in the background, law enforcement, Jonathan, bringing them out of their classroom to the Civic Center, an arena there on the campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee. Jonathan, when I hear this, and I have college kids, when I hear a calm fear, that kills me, knowing what he's going through. And that was the way he was describing this situation, being locked down on the university about 2 weeks from graduation.
Right. And that's that fear that I was talking about earlier, that people are not expecting this when they wake up this morning, that this is going to occur. But I'll have to say that the officer that we heard coming in there and giving them instructions, that is the tone that you need to hear from law enforcement. And law enforcement has to differentiate between moving towards a threat that they may potentially have to eliminate, and dealing with students that are terrified. And so to see law enforcement be able to think their way through those things is very inspiring. You know that they've had good training when you see that. And so that was very encouraging to hear that officer explaining to them, you know, your phones may not work, but we need you to stay calm. The way he was talking was it calmed them down. And that's an important part of this whole process. There's the aggression that what we call in the military violence of action that law enforcement needs to use when they go after these shooters, but they need to be able to turn around and when they identify these individuals that are sheltering in place, take it down and then start working with them calmly to take control of that situation and get them out of there.
Jonathan, we appreciate you joining us. We know you have to leave, but we want to bring up the tweet on X from the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, earlier saying our prayers are with our FSU family and state law enforcement is actively responding. Sergeant Betsy Branter-Smith, let's bring you back in. You're the spokesperson for the National Police Association. You see scenarios like this all the time. You teach these scenarios all the time. We just saw a video of some of the law enforcement scrambling on that very large campus. We've been on large campuses before. The University of Texas, myself, my daughter attends the University of Georgia, nearly 43,000 students there. My daughter went to Ole Miss. I was on a university campus this past weekend. I know how busy it is. It wouldn't have been surprising to me with thousands of students on Saturday for Junior Day, that school hosting that for us, for someone just to come up and open fire on anyone, killing hundreds of people. So my question to you is, from this point on, is this sort of a warning to other universities? This is what Florida State did. They did it right. Active police officers there, law enforcement, the state, county, everyone involved in this. Go through the steps of what you've seen so far in this scenario and how law enforcement handled it.
Well, you see the videos of those officers, of course, running toward the shots. That's exactly what law enforcement is supposed to do. And this is why we want police officers on campuses, grade school, high school, college. Remember, there's a lot of colleges in the last 4 or 5 years that have taken law enforcement off of their campuses, or they have disarmed their law enforcement on college campuses. This is why you want armed, trained, real police officers to be in and around your college campus, as well as in grade school and high school. And so what we have seen is law enforcement doing an excellent job running toward the shots. You also saw other video, other B-roll of law enforcement officers doing everything from already processing the crime scene, taking pictures. And Jonathan made a great point about that officer who was speaking to those students that are sheltering in place, informing them, letting them know what is going to happen, letting them know, you know, that they can contact their families, but communications might be difficult. And I want to say to you, as a dad of college kids, this is something that we need to talk to our kids about. My husband and I are cops. We talk to our kids in grade school, high school, and college about what to do in an active shooter situation so that it's not just a shock, not such a surprise, and they know how to act and react.
Well, as we heard, I'm glad you brought that up. As we heard that one young man, Garrett Harvey, again, locked down in a room on campus, waiting for instructions from law enforcement. You just said we need to talk to our kids about this, to be aware of situations like this. Are universities doing enough to combat that in the sense of letting kids know that's not the first thing you want to know about when you're a freshman on the campus, looking forward to the games in the fall, looking for the sororities and the frat parties and different things, and studying law like your mom or dad did, and getting involved. This shouldn't be the first thing they're aware of, but do you believe more schools will do this? Because some do.
You're right. Some do, some do not, or some only deal with situations like sexual assault, things like that. And other universities politicize these types of things. What schools need to do is to inform the students that, hey, this, you know, now you're a grown up, now you're in college, and that things happen on a college campus, just like they happen on the streets of America. And if there is, for example, an active shooter, here's what our law enforcement is going to do. Here's what our professors are going to do. Here's what you're going to see and hear on social media in and around the campus. Let them know what may happen so that they are prepared. This young man that CNN interviewed, obviously very calm. He sounded like he might be a little bit older, but he seemed somewhat prepared. Obviously, that's a terrifying situation to be just going to class or going about your business and there are shots fired. So if they've had some kind of warning and some kind of discussion, that's a great way to prepare for this. This is why you want armed law enforcement on your campus, and you want those police officers to participate in various activities with those kids. It takes a very special police officer to be a campus cop, and I've known thousands of them, and they love interacting with the students. They love their campuses and their universities. Every university and college in this country needs good quality armed law enforcement to take ownership of their students, because that's just what cops want to do. They want to do their job. They want to protect people.
And as parents, we want them to do their job. We want them to be safe. We want them to be secure when we drop them off. We don't like the text messages saying, hey, there's an active shooter on campus. I can't imagine what the young man Garrett Harvey earlier interviewed, what his parents are going through, getting text messages of that. We just saw a video. I want you to walk us through this video, and I think we know the answer, but we saw students there with their hands up. That's a large campus. Going through that campus, trying to figure out if there's another actor or if this one suspect that is in custody, if he's the lone actor, does that help law enforcement out knowing, okay, they got their hands up, we know that's not an active shooter?
Well, there have been incidents of active shooters in schools where the suspect has walked out with the other students. So law enforcement has to be very shrewd in the way that they do this. You can see these students with their hands up. They're obviously doing this at the direction of law enforcement. And you can see that FSU, for people who haven't been there, it's not only a large campus, it's very wooded. There's a lot of places to hide, a lot of buildings, tall and smaller. But law enforcement has to look at every one of these people, the kids, the adults, and all that, because again, the suspect could be, a staff member or just someone unrelated to the school. They've got to quickly assess each and every one of these people coming with their hands up and trying to assess if they are just, a student, uninvolved in the shooting or whatever. Again, we saw that one person taken into custody, but we don't know if there are others. I'm going to guess, by looking at some of the video and the more relaxed nature of the current video, I'm guessing that they're about to button this situation up and turn it from an active shooter situation into a crime scene. But that is going to come from either the sheriff's office or the governor.
Yeah, that's right. The president has been alerted to this school shooting. He is speaking right now in the Oval Office. Betsy, let's listen in to his comments about this active shooter in Florida at Florida State University.
Thank you very much, everybody. And I've been briefed on the Florida State University, Tallahassee active shooting. I guess it's an active shooter. Fully briefed as to where we are right now. It's a shame. It's a horrible thing. Horrible that things like this take place. And we'll have more to say about it later. In the meantime, it's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Italy with us. Prime Minister Meloni, who's doing a fantastic job. I would say that she has taken Europe by storm and highly respected. Everybody loves her and respects her, and I can't say that about many people. And she's become a friend, and we really have a great relationship between Italy and ourselves. And we talked about trade. We talked about many, many things during our luncheon, and she'll be saying a few words, but she's a very special person, and it's nice to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you for your Well,
Just heard comments from the
participation.
president calling the school shooting at Florida State University in Tallahassee, quote, a shame that things like this take place. It's horrible. He will address that more. Obviously, you can tell that he's with the Prime Minister of Italy right now with other concerns right now, but he will address that. And I guarantee you, Sergeant Betsy Branter-Smith, he has been in contact, or his people have been in contact with the governor, Ron DeSantis. We know that he is a big fan of law enforcement and recruitment when it comes to that right there. So, but that's what the scary part is. Correct me if I'm wrong, Betsy. It's right down the street from the capital of Florida, right there in Tallahassee. Talk a little bit about not just the law enforcement getting to the university immediately in responding, but the response to the Capitol. I'm guessing there's a lockdown there, not just around the university with secondary schools, elementaries, middle schools, high schools, but businesses as well as the state Capitol with lawmakers in there.
Absolutely. If you've been to this area, it's an incredibly congested, busy area. And now, you've got, people trying to, get their professor or get their student, off the campus. Law enforcement obviously is responding. And then you've got the addition of the other secondary schools, the businesses, and of course, the state capitol. So there is, I can just imagine, because traffic's never good in this area at any given time. So I can imagine it's pretty crazy. And I want to say about President Trump's statement that I'm glad that he was calm, he was measured, and he did not try to politicize this. He didn't say anything about guns or laws or any of that. He just said it's a real shame that these things have to happen. And he's absolutely right about that. That's what we need from our political leadership when we're talking about these things, the same as we need from our law enforcement leadership. And I think that you will see later on when law enforcement leadership speaks about this active shooter on the campus of FSU, you're going to see that same measured response. And that helps people feel so much better. And it also helps law enforcement feel better about doing their job.
Well, and it's going to go back, correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes these discussions just open up in a situation right there as we're watching video of law enforcement scrambling throughout the university, heading toward the active shooter. And once again, if you just joined us, an active shooter on the campus today, about an hour and a half, an alert went out for students and professors and employees at Florida State University in Tallahassee. We do know this right now. This is a fact. Several reports say that the shooter is in custody. In fact, some people online noting that they saw the shooter being shackled by police officers. We also know, according to the local hospital there in Tallahassee, that several, including at least right now 4, have been injured and taken to the hospital. We know that that's a large campus, 30,000 plus students coming back from spring break. We know that the school remains on lockdown. Another alert went out on social media talking about classes and activities canceled for the day. Betsy, we do know back in 2024 there was an active shooter as well, and then 10 years ago, Strozier Library as well, an active shooter there. That is a campus that should know how. Okay, we're getting word from our executive producer. Let's go back to the president. He continues to talk about this situation. He's taking questions right now. Let's listen in. The Oval Office.
We'll see what that will be. We're going to be hearing from them this week, very shortly, actually, and we'll see. But we want it to stop. We want the death and the killing to stop.
Mr. President, on Jerome Powell, you said that the termination of Jerome Powell cannot come fast enough. He says he won't leave, even if you ask him to.
Oh, he'll leave. If I ask him to, he'll be out of there. But I don't think he's doing the job. He's too late, always too late, a little slow, and I'm not happy with him. I let him know it, and if I want him out, he'll be out of there real fast, believe me. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, please. Question.
Are you trying to remove him, Mr. President?
Yeah, question.
Mr. President, you hit Judge Mosberg in a case against your administration. So the Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial order. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, you're going to have to speak to the lawyers. We have great lawyers, I can tell you this, we're doing a fantastic job of getting criminals out of this country who Biden allowed into the country. Hundreds of thousands of criminals, murderers and drug dealers. And I was elected because of the fact, I would say maybe that was the number one factor, a lot of reasons, the economy, a lot of things. But one of the primary reasons I was elected is because I said, I'm going to get the criminals that he allowed to come into our country so stupidly through open borders. I'm going to get them out. And I got a lot of votes, record-setting numbers of votes, as you know. We won everything. The popular vote, all 7 swing states, we won everything. And that's what the public wanted. That's what I'm doing. But you'll have to speak to the lawyers because it's up to them.
Mr. President, what do you think of the proposal from France?
Say it.
What do you think of the proposal from France and UK of a peace mission in Ukraine with soldiers? And do you think that Italy should take part into it?
Well, I think Italy will have to make that determination, but peace missions are always good with me. I'm okay with peace missions. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, have you discussed what areas of cooperation and discussed with the Prime Minister vis-a-vis Italy and the United States and Europe and the United States? And on China?
We discussed it very briefly. No, we're doing very well with negotiations, I think, with all countries. And Scott could tell you a little bit, but we are doing very well. We have a lot of countries that want to make a deal. Frankly, they want to make deals more than I do. Go ahead, Scott. Would you say something, please?
Yeah, we've got a process in place. We're working on the big 15 economies first. We had a fantastic meeting with Japan yesterday. I believe they've been called with the EU already. And then we have South Korea coming in next week. And I believe India is also talking. That's moving very quickly.
Go ahead.
Ukraine's President Zelensky has said he has evidence that China is supplying weaponry or ammunition to Russia. Do you have any evidence along those lines? And also, he said we could see a minerals deal signed this week. Is that?
Well, we have a minerals deal, which I guess is going to be signed on Thursday, Scott, next Thursday, soon. And I assume they're going to live up to the deal, so we'll see. But we have a deal on that. No, I have no comment on that. I have no idea. That's his statement, not mine.
Mr. President, there were reports that you made off the Israeli attack on Iranian nuclear facilities. Can you comment on that? Is that accurate?
And they say the attack is what?
That you waved off an Israeli plan to attack Iranian nuclear facilities.
I wouldn't say waved off. I'm not in a rush to do it because I think that Iran has a chance to have a great country and to live happily without death, and I'd like to see that. That's my first option. If there's a second option, I think it would be very bad for Iran, and I think Iran is wanting to talk. I hope they're wanting to talk. It's going to be very good for them if they do, and I'd like to see Iran thrive in the future, do fantastically well. I know the Iranian people, they're incredible people. Always have been very smart, very energetic, very successful people. And I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt anybody. I really don't. But Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's, pretty simple. It's really simple. We're not looking to take their industry. We're not looking to take their land. All we're saying is you can't have a nuclear weapon. The deal that was made with Obama, that deal would have expired already. It was a terrible deal. It would have expired, and that gave them a clear path to a nuclear weapon. I wouldn't have accepted. That's why I terminated the deal. Number one, it was way too short. When countries are involved, you don't make short-term deals. These are countries with long lives, and I terminated that. And it was a great termination because it didn't allow us to do anything. Once it terminated, you know what the deal was. It was a terrible deal. Really, one of many terrible deals made by the U.S. But no, I'd like to see Iran thrive. And they can do that, I think, very easily. Or they can do it the other way. And the other way is not going to be good for them. It's going to be really bad for them.
President, CEO going to China and met with trade officials there?
Well, Jensen's an amazing guy. He's become a friend of mine, and I don't know, he's a person that's very proud of our country. He loves our country. I'm not worried about Jensen at all.
Mr. President,
Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States and put him in front of a judge?
Well, I'm not involved in it. I'm going to respond by saying you'll have to speak to the lawyers, the DOJ. I've heard many things about him, and we'll have to find out what the truth is. But I will say this, you know, we were inundated by millions of people, many millions of people during the Biden administration. They say 21 million. And a big percentage of those are criminals, serious criminals. I'm not saying just criminal because they came into the border illegally. I'm saying they're criminals at the highest level, murderers. Many of those people murdered more than one person, and they're on the loose. And I was elected to get rid of those criminals, to get them out of our country, or to put them away, but to get them out of our country. And I don't see how judges can take that authority away from a president. We've done an amazing job, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem. We have done an amazing job. Nobody can believe the job we've done. Far greater than what I said. I mean, I got elected on that, but we've done much better. We have right now 99% border. It's a 99%. Nobody thought that would even be, nobody's coming through our border practically. 2 weeks ago, we had 9 people come through, all for medical reasons. We allowed them. We brought them through because one had a heart attack, one had something else, all for medical reasons. We have a great border. We had a great border 4 years ago, but we have a border now that's even tighter, and we did that in a matter of weeks. And no, we have to. We need to get murderers and drug dealers and people that were in jail for horrible. You know, they released jails, Georgia, from all over the world. They released them, not just South America, all over the world, the Congo and Africa. Many, many people come from the Congo. I don't know what that is, but they came from the Congo. And all over the world they came in, opened their jails. Venezuela, practically all of their prisoners released into our country. We took them because we had an incompetent administration called the Biden administration. And to think what they've done to our country. And I was elected to straighten that out, and I'm doing that. But we have activist judges that don't want murderers to be sent out of our country. They don't want killers and drug dealers and drug lords and people from mental institutions. They want them to stay in our country, I guess. I don't know, maybe that's the liberal way, or as they call it nowadays, the progressive way. But I don't think it's the way that our country believes, and that's why I won in a landslide. Okay.
Mr. President, you did say that you were confident these deals will be done, but you also said that you're in no rush. Americans are seeing prices rise. They're seeing it on their bills. How long can they expect that pain to last?
So they've already seen it get much better, because if you were truthful, which you're not, you know, I know you very well, you have gasoline that hit $1.98 yesterday in a couple of states. You have gasoline's way down. The price of oil has dropped substantially. The price of groceries are substantially down. The price of eggs, you know, when I came in, they hit me with eggs. I just got there. I was here for 1 week, and they started screaming at me, eggs have gone through the roof. I said, I just got here. I was there for 7 days, and I hear that eggs have gone through the roof before I got there. And they were screaming at me, the press, the fake news, like you're fake. And the fake news is screaming at me, like, about eggs. I said, I've only been here, this is my 7th day. And they were right. They went up 87%, and you couldn't get them. They said, you won't have eggs for Easter, which is coming up. Happy Easter, everybody. You won't have eggs for Easter. And we did an unbelievable job, and now eggs are all over the place, and the price went down 92%. And our Commissioner of Agriculture, Brooke, has done a fantastic job. They really have done a fantastic job. So prices haven't gone up. The only thing that's gone up, actually, is interest rates, because we have a Federal Reserve Chairman that is playing politics. Somebody that I've never been very fond of, actually. But he's playing politics. Interest rates should be down now. They should be coming down. In Europe, as you know, they reduced them, I guess 7 times. It looks like they're going to reduce them again and again and again. But our guy wants to play cute. But interest rates are pretty much even. Maybe they went up just a slight bit, but that's the only thing. But that's because of the Federal Reserve, because they're not very smart people.
Do you
Go ahead. Yes, sir, please. Go ahead, please.
Do you regret nominating him, Jerome Powell?
Look, in the first 4 years, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. Stock market went up 88 points. I think he's terrible, but I can't complain because we had the most successful administration economically in the history of our country. I think we're going to do even better this time because you will see that the numbers that we're taking in are astronomical. We're taking in tremendous amounts of money with the tariffs. We were treated very unfairly on trade, and countries are having a hard time getting used to the fact that they can't do that to us anymore because we have a real president. We have a president that understands what it's all about. We had presidents that, in some cases, were smart, but they didn't understand business, or they didn't like business, or, you know, it wasn't like a priority. And then you had, like, the last administration, the only thing they were good at was cheating in elections. That's about all they could do. They couldn't do anything. They were useless. They were incompetent. Worst administration in the history of our country. Worse than Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter died a happy man. You know why? Because he wasn't the worst president. Joe Biden was. So I think you're going to see some fantastic numbers when this all happens. It's happening now. I mean, everybody wants to make a deal. And if they don't want to make a deal, we'll make the deal for them. Because that's what's going to happen. We'll just say, this is what it is. But we want to listen to everybody. And I think I can say for Scott and the other people that are working on it that we're listening and we're going to be very fair to people. But, you know, we're the one that really sets the deal, and that's what we'll be doing. Okay? Yeah, go ahead, please. Please.
A question to our Prime Minister.
Oh, you have a great Prime Minister. You're so lucky. Yes.
In italiano?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Okay.
I'm not sure they do agree.
Presidente Meloni, volevo sapere cosa pensava del fatto che il Presidente Trump ha considerato responsabile Zelensky della guerra in Ucraina e poi se avete parlato delle spese militari e qual è il limite massimo a cui ha detto che può arrivare l'Italia, le percentuali delle spese militari.
Non abbiamo parlato dei limiti massimi a cui può arrivare l'Italia, abbiamo parlato del fatto che l'Italia sta mantenendo i suoi impegni perché arriverà al prossimo vertice della NATO con il 2% che era già previsto, che è stato sottoscritto dai governi precedenti, perché siamo una nazione seria, ma non abbiamo parlato poi di quanto vada aumentata questa percentuale, anche se siamo ovviamente consapevoli che insomma, il tema della difesa sia un tema particolarmente importante di questo tempo. Per quello che riguarda la guerra in Ucraina, lei sa come la penso che ci sia chiaramente ci sia stata un'invasione e che l'invasore da quel punto di vista fosse Putin e la Russia, ma non è questo che oggi quello che rivela è il fatto che insieme vogliamo lavorare, stiamo lavorando per cercare di arrivare in Ucraina a una pace che possa essere giusta e duratura. Penso che questi siano gli sforzi sui quali condividiamo il nostro lavoro, abbiamo condiviso anche oggi il nostro lavoro.
That sounded absolutely. That was so beautiful. What the hell? What did she say, please? No, I mean it sounded great.
It was about.
It was beautifully presented, but maybe I could hear what she said. Please, go ahead. Go ahead.
It was about asking.
Guys,
Hold it.
Have some respect, please.
Thank you. No, wait. I want to hear what she said. Go ahead,
Prime Minister Meloni was asked what she thinks about the fact that President Trump holds Zelensky responsible for the war in Ukraine. And Prime Minister Meloni answered, well, actually, we have no, and also if you talked about the military spending, and the raising of the military spending, and the first thing Prime Minister Meloni said is that no, actually we didn't talk about the raise in military spending. Of course, Italy will keep its commitments with 2%, and then we will see, because we are absolutely aware of the fact that it is very important
well, I will do
defense
that.
is very important.
Wait. I will do that.
Important.
They've been asking if we decided another percentage about the defense spendings, and I said
NATO.
yes, NATO, and I said that Italy is reaching the 2% as it was already decided. We didn't speak about a specific other percentage, but we are aware of the fact that defense is important for the future, and we see what also the work that we are trying to do at the European level.
And I don't hold Zelensky responsible, but I'm not exactly thrilled with the fact that that war started. That was a war that would have never started if I were president. You'd have millions of people living right now that are dead. You'd have cities that would be open and thriving and that have their beautiful turrets. Those turrets are the most beautiful in the world, but they're not with us any longer. They're smashed to smithereens, laying on the ground in a million pieces, getting hit by rockets, bombs, and bullets. And so I'm not happy with him, and I'm not happy with anybody involved. I think it's a war. I know it's a war. It didn't happen for 4 years. It was never close to happening. It was never even a thought. And I spoke to President Putin about it a lot. It was the apple of his eye, but there's no way he would have ever gone in if I were president. Now I'm trying to get him to stop because, as you know, Russia's a lot bigger. It's a bigger military force. And if you're smart, you don't go involved and get involved in wars that you can blame the man that was sitting in this seat. Biden, he didn't know what the hell was going on, but I can guarantee you that, and everybody agrees to it, if I were president, that war would have never taken place. I'm not blaming him, but what I am saying is that I wouldn't say he's done the greatest job, okay? I'm not a big fan. I really am. I'm not a big fan.
All right, you have been watching here on Dr. Phil's Merit TV an Oval Office meeting with President Trump and the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, talking about numerous topics, including tariffs and obviously just right there, the Ukraine-Russian war. Before any of that, he was asked about the active school shooting today on the Florida State University campus. He said, quote, "It's a shame things like this still take place. It's horrible." Then he said, "We want the death and killing to stop." That was just about it. Those three comments that he made. I'm sure he will have his staff, the Trump administration, will have more on this later today. Let's catch you up to speed if you're just now tuning in to this breaking news here on Dr. Phil's Merit TV. Around 12:20 Eastern today, an alert went out to the students and professors and employees of the campus of Florida State University, an active shooter alert. Since then, around 20 minutes after that posting went out, a suspect was in custody. That was the report, still in custody. One active shooter in the Tallahassee Democrat. According to that paper, they're saying there are now 6 injured, 1 critical right now at Tallahassee Memorial Health Care. We will keep you updated on that as that developed. As far as the injuries, we want to bring in someone. We believe his office is just right down the street from the Capitol, the state Capitol, from that university. Joining us now on the phone is Jimmy Petronis, CFO of the state of Florida. Jimmy, again, the state Capitol, your office, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, just about a mile down from the street. How are you? Where were you when you heard about this active shooter?
So I am not at the state's capital today, but you know, I'm a Florida State grad, multiple generations of my family grew up there in Tallahassee, so it definitely hits really close to home, considering all of those that I know and love, you know, could be in harm's way, especially the alma mater that I graduated from.
Jimmy, talk to us about what you're hearing in updates and text messages and back and forth, not only from the governor, but just state law enforcement and how they responded to that active shooter situation at that very large campus near the student union, where you're aware of, is very busy around 12:20 Eastern, around lunchtime.
Sure. So, you know, I tell you that the alert system that Florida State has deployed out with the students, you know, those systems really do work. They, you know, they save lives. They create an awareness of where there is an active shooter threat or any type of a threat. So, technology was leveraged, lives were saved, but mince no words, this is horrific. I was boots on the ground the same day as the Parkland shooting took place several years ago on Valentine's Day. There's going to be a lot of very just raw emotions. The Florida legislature is meeting while we speak. This issue will obviously consume a lot of the bandwidth of what the deliberations will be of this legislative body and Governor DeSantis as they're trying to wrap up in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, Governor DeSantis putting out a comment on X around an hour ago. Our prayers are with our FSU family, and state law enforcement is actively responding. We also heard on social media as well from Florida House Speaker Danny Perez saying, quote, our prayers are with Florida State at this moment. We do know this, Jimmy, a sophomore at the school telling the Tallahassee Democrat that an alarm came over the PA system and an alert came across the screen of his phone in the lecture hall he was in. His professors then locked the doors. Once officers arrived, they unlocked the doors and escorted the students out. This is not the first known active shooter situation of Florida State. There was one in 2024. We also know of the fatality, the fatal one back in 2014 as well. Since then, tell us what the state of Florida has done, not only for Florida State University, but keeping kids secure and safe on campus, but all of the schools, Central Florida, Miami, all of the schools there in the state.
Well, as more and more, you're going to have to harden these institutions. They become vulnerable spots. They become soft targets. So, as different types of technology, just like what we saw, this technology of the push alerts to the phones that save lives. Doors were locked, people were kept safe. But you'll still have to take it a step further with hardening of the classrooms. It's really a shame that we're even having this discussion because of not enough being done about the mental illness that affects these deranged people that do these terrible, heinous acts. There's not a place good enough in hell for these son of a guns to go to, but there's obviously a treatment that's going to be needed when they're identified to keep this type of behavior under control. It's not if, it's when another event like this is going to happen. We just got to be prepared and leverage technology to save lives.
Jimmy, with a situation like this, it's going to get political. There are going to be dads actually talking to their kids saying, all right, that's it. I don't know what the process is, the regulation, the laws in the state of Florida, but we're going to get you registered and you're going to carry a gun to campus. What are the regulations and laws for campus carry there in Florida? Update us on that.
Yeah, so Florida, every year there's going to be some type of a piece of legislation that is going to expand or protect Second Amendment rights. And so last year, the legislature took up and dealt with open carry. And it was kind of a hybrid of the legislation where it allowed, open carry to take place. But, if you've got a concealed carry permit, which, does require firearms training, these are all these good ways to make sure somebody respects their firearm. But, then you would have reciprocity in other states. So, again, this is going to create policy that's going to be driven by emotion. And we saw that after the Parkland shooting. Was it the right policy or not? Some good came out of it. Some people felt like there was greater restrictions to the Second Amendment. So all that is going to be thrust upon the legislature as they deliberate. When the Parkland shooting took place, nothing else seemed to matter anymore during that legislative session because how this tragedy affect all of the policy moving forward. There's a lot of things taking place in Tallahassee that are incredibly important, but mince no words, this will suck all the air out of the room.
Well, we do know this. Let's update our viewers. We know that there are various social media posts and news reports have differing numbers on the injured and deaths, but law enforcement, as of 2 p.m. Eastern, had not confirmed any deaths from the shooting earlier this morning. We do know that, according to the Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare Hospital, there are 6 injured. One of those is in serious condition right now. Let's go back to law enforcement, and one is critical. 5 serious, 1 critical is the word that we're getting, the report. Let's go back, Jimmy, and talk about the state of Florida. We know that Governor Ron DeSantis is a big fan of law enforcement, paying law enforcement, recruiting other people from other states to come to Florida as far as law enforcement is considered. He put out this statement earlier. Our prayers are with our FSU family, and state law enforcement is actively responding. Let's talk about that response from law enforcement, everyone gathering there on the campus of Florida State. That seems to be, Jimmy, never a problem, knowing that law enforcement is going to be there to keep people safe, whether it's an active shooter on a college campus or a church or an elementary school, correct?
Yes, I mean, look, when we had over the last 4 years, there was definitely a lot of defund of the police momentum in some of the blue parts of the country. And look, it was horrible that was the case. There was a lot of attitude of not appreciation of law enforcement. In Florida, we seize that. Look, if you're in law enforcement and you want to come where you're appreciated, come to the state of Florida. I remind people all the time, you don't have good schools, you don't have quality investment, you don't have good communities, you don't have new retail, you don't have investment unless it's safe. And, if you want to run law enforcement off from your community, your state, your municipality, just understand that will have a trickle-down effect on the quality of the jobs you're going to have, the quality of investments, the quality of your communities. So in Florida, we said, look, if you don't want these guys, we'll take them and, we'll pay them a $5,000, moving bonus to come to the state of Florida. We've recruited law enforcement officers from all 49 states to come be a part of the Florida State law enforcement system because of taking advantage of states that just have turned their back on them.
Right. Yep. All right. Well, we know you're busy. Jimmy Petronis, the CFO of the state of Florida. Thank you for taking the time to join us and update us. We appreciate that. We know you're busy. Let's go now to our colleagues at CNN.
Told it was in the area of the student union, and some of the newer reporting is that 3 guns were found. So there's 1 suspect in custody. That person had a handgun on them, but a shotgun at the Union, John, and also a 3rd gun in a car that may perhaps belong to this person in custody. What are officials working through in this moment?
Erica, this is part of a process. And, Ryan described some of this when he was talking to you earlier, but unfortunately, we've become too experienced at this in local law enforcement and on college campuses. But starting off with, first they communicated to the campus the shelter-in-place order, which goes out to every student's phone. We follow them on Twitter. We could see that happening in real time, and that's over an hour ago now. And that gets everybody locked down. Dealing with the shooter, so they have 1 shooter in custody. Here's what we don't know. The shooter that they have in custody, is this someone they encountered and someone who was shot in an encounter with police? Is he one of those who was taken to the hospital? Or is this someone who they just caught and surrendered? We're still waiting for that information. But the search for, are there other shooters, is combined with the search for, there are people, when they hear the shots or see the notice, who will run and hide wherever they are. And that's different from sheltering in place in your dorm room or in another building. So those tactical teams are not just looking for, is there another suspect, but they're also looking for that person who is hiding in a closet, hiding in an empty room under a desk, hiding somewhere waiting to know, is this over, are they safe? So that's why these incidents tend to start up at breakneck speed and then slow down, where they go through this methodical process of clearing the building that they know the incident occurred in, but also other buildings around it. They are relatively confident at this time that there is no second shooter based on the preliminary search they've done. They believe the individual they have in custody is that shooter. But as you pointed out, Erica, the presence of a shotgun in the student union, a pistol on the suspect who's in custody, and a car with another gun in it helped raise that specter of, was this person acting alone?
Yeah, a lot of questions still to be answered. John Miller, please stand by. The latest news out of Tallahassee, Florida, at least 2 confirmed dead 6 injured. The suspect involved in this mass shooting on the campus of Florida State University now in custody. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to bring you the latest.
We continue our coverage right here on Dr. Phil's Merit TV. We want to show you video of the campus of Florida State University earlier, around 2 hours ago, 12:20 Eastern. Take a look at this video. You can hear gunshots in the background. You can see right there, as soon as those shots were fired, we saw people running, students, professors, employees. But there was one person on the right of that video that did nothing, that just normally walked off campus. We don't know anything about that. We do know that the shooter is in custody at this hour. And as we just heard from CNN, 2 confirmed dead, at least 6 still injured, 1 critical in the hospital from Tallahassee Memorial Health Care. Again, to get you up to speed, around 12:20 Eastern earlier this morning, an alert went out on social media to students and professors at Florida State University. That one right there. It says continue to shelter in place after it was recognized that there was an active shooter on campus near the student union. The police told the students to stay alert for more information. About 30 minutes after that, it said the school remains on lockdown. They locked down businesses and secondary schools outside the campus as well, including the Capitol, which is about 1.33 miles down the street from that campus, which houses around 30,000 plus students. We know again that 6 are injured. Students were in rooms. One sophomore telling the lecture hall he was in, the Tallahassee Democrat, the news outlet, that as soon as an alarm came through the PA system on his phone screen, an alert popped up. They immediately locked the doors. His professors locked the doors. Once officers arrived, they unlocked the doors. They escorted the students out of that lecture hall with the hands lifted, as you can see right there, students emulating that move right there out of the campus. Again, a campus that has seen active shooters before, just last year, 2024, as well as a fatal incident 10 years ago in 2014 as well. Jimmy Petronas, he is the current CFO of the state of Florida, saying that, acknowledging that law enforcement did exactly what they were supposed to do, knowing what to do. Of course, we will continue to have more special coverage here of the active shooter at Florida State University this afternoon. We'll be right back after this.
Tonight on Dr. Phil Primetime.
My daughter went for her daily run the next day. They found her badly beaten, strangled. She was raped, and she was stuffed into a drain pipe.
Did you take the opportunity to view the body?
It was just really very hard to see her and to know what's actually happened to her. He's accused of committing a murder in his home country.
And committed multiple crimes once he was here.
Children are dying, and it's happening in every state.
That's tonight. What's gold is new again. Pardon the pun. But considering gold has been used as currency since around 550 BCE, it has been on fire the past year. I'm here with Daniel Boston, the founder of Preserve Gold. Why is gold so stable and such a good investment for many people?
Take the central bank, for example, the Federal Reserve. They print money out of thin air, and then they take that printed money to go buy hard assets like gold to protect themselves against the very risks that they're creating. So I always tell people, don't do what the big players are telling you to do. Do what they're doing themselves.
Yeah, watch what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay. If people are interested in investing with Preserve Gold, how do they get started?
You can give us a call at our toll-free number, 844-407-6375. You can text Phil to 50505, or you can check out our website, www.drphilgold.com.
All right. No way you can miss it.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. as I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL and see the difference it can make in your life.
Buy one, get two free. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3, a value of more than $85. Call today and you pay only $39.95. Plus, you have nothing to lose because it's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee. Call now.
Brace yourself. It's a Friday night doubleheader. First up, Corey Snapback Cad and his San Antonio Snipers.
All it takes is one punch.
Take aim at James Earl and the Houston Hitmen. Next, watch AJ Graham and the Dallas Enforcers go to work against Amelia Moore and the Boston Butchers.
Oh, big right hand.
San Antonio versus Houston. Then Dallas, Boston, tomorrow night at 9 on Merit TV.
And good afternoon, everyone. Joe Gubb with breaking news here on Dr. Phil's Merit TV. Around 12:20 this afternoon, an active shooter alert from the university, Florida State University, hitting cell phones on campus, letting students and professors and employees know that there was an active shooter on campus. Law enforcement, of course, hit the university, found the shooter. He is in custody, and as of right now, 2:26 Eastern, we are receiving word that 2 are now confirmed dead, with 6 currently injured in the hospital right now. One of those critical. If that changes, we will update you. We do know this, that once the campus was on lockdown, the surrounding area with businesses and secondary schools, elementaries, middle schools, high schools as well locked down. One student telling the Tallahassee Democrat, that news outlet, that they were in a lecture hall listening in the business center, and they heard an alarm come over the PA system about the alert. It came across their screens as well. It hit social media as well. This is what we know right now. It's a large school, 30,000 plus attend that university. We know that Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, putting out a social media post earlier. We will have that for you right there. Our prayers are with our FSU family and state law enforcement as well. We know that Florida House Speaker Danny Perez also saying online, our prayers are with Florida State at this moment. Jimmy Patronis, the CFO of the state of Florida, telling us earlier on the phone that lawmakers are meeting right now at the state capitol trying to figure out what is going on. It's just right down the street from Florida State University. We do know that it is still on lockdown. In fact, NBC News is reporting that all classes and business operations at FSU will be canceled through tomorrow. The university said in a statement, additionally, athletics home events are canceled from now until Sunday. Quote, essential employees should check with their supervisors for further reporting instructions. That's according to Florida State University spokespeople. We have video we want to show you when this took place earlier this afternoon. Take a listen. As you can see right there, we're going to play it. You can see one person standing there. Everyone else is running once those shots ring out, but that active, we don't know who that is right now. We don't know if that's the active shooter, but you can see from the video, they're not running. They're standing still. And right now, we're not quite sure if that is the active shooter. We do know the police confirm that one person is in custody. We don't know if he's a lone actor or not. We do know from Florida State University, we do know that there has been situations like this before. Last year, 2024, 10 years ago, 2024, at the Strozier Library, a fatal incident right there. Here's another video from Garrett Harvey, a young man, a student that was on earlier. He was in a classroom. He shot this video. We see students scrambling, law enforcement telling them where to go, their hands raised up in the air. We heard earlier from one of our law enforcement analysts that before, that is something that law enforcement, they tell students, they're rounding them up right there outside of lecture halls, that students will go outside, raise their hands. But we've heard before that there have been situations with students coming out with their hands raised, but they have been active shooters that have had backpacks, and just because their hands are raised. So law enforcement scrambling to the university, to the businesses and the secondary schools outside the university as well. Law enforcement active all over that area within 2 to 3 square miles. Let's listen in right now, our colleagues at CNN, with more updates on this situation.
Presenter's podium against the door, but we tried to rip some wires out of the wall, so it was pretty hectic. But
you ever hear the gunshots?
No, I did not, but I did hear ambulances, or what I thought was ambulances initially, and I found that a little bit concerning, because usually when they get close to campus, they mute their alarms to refrain from making big disturbance. But prayers to all my peers, the professors, the staff, the Tallahassee community. Really the country. I'm gonna call on Governor Ron DeSantis, the President Donald Trump for. This stuff keeps going on, right? But we're praying every day. Prayer is good. Spirituality is good, but prayers don't do much, right? So it's good for the soul, but is this still happening? I think it is. So we need to make some gun reforms.
Just hearing from a student there, calling specifically, mentioning Governor Ron DeSantis, mentioning President Trump, saying, we appreciate the prayers and spirituality is important, but we need some gun reform. Be interesting to see. You and I have covered far too many of these, and we know typically a pattern that this takes in terms of whether there is action. We'll be watching for all of that. In this moment, though, of course, we are still following very closely what is actually happening at Florida State. At this point, we do know that there is one person in custody. At least 6 people have been hurt. And what is it like for the students who are still there now? Will Schatz is joining us. He's a senior at FSU. Will, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us here. So as I understand it, you were in the library. Did you hear gunshots? Can you walk us through what happened?
Yeah, of course. And thanks for having me. But yeah, so what really happened is the first thing that set me off was there was just a lot of commotion. We were in the library, which is right by the student union. A lot of commotion. People started running, so naturally I thought to run with them. And once I got out of the building, that's when I heard about 7 to 8 gunshots, approximately.
And Will, what was going through your mind when you heard that?
Just the fact that I had to get somewhere safe. It was really more shock than being able to think about anything. I knew something, like a shooting was happening, and there just wasn't a lot to think about at that moment, just to be safe, and that the people I was with, hoping they were safe as well.
And Will, you're in a safe place now. Obviously, if you're able to join us, have you been able to get in touch with, all your friends and family, your friends there on campus to make sure that they're okay?
Yes, thankfully I have everybody that I know, they are okay, so that's assuring. I'm back at my apartment now. I stuck around the scene for a while just to see what was happening, I guess, because I couldn't even get to my car at the time. Sorry.
No, you read my mind. I was wondering, as you said, you're back at your apartment now. So I guess 2-part question. Mm-hmm. Number one, is that an off-campus apartment? And if so, when you were making your way from the library, you said it was a little tough to get to your car, but getting to your car, getting back to your home, were there, moments, did you have to go through, did you have to speak with law enforcement? Were you questioned at all as you were making your way around campus to eventually get home?
So what I did was I spoke to an officer I saw and just asked him, what would be the best way for me to get to where my car was without, interfering with anything they were doing. So I took, the long way around. I was able to get to my car. Only at one point did I have to wait for a cop to direct me through traffic. But besides that, it was pretty easy to get back home.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And sharing what you experienced. We're glad that you're okay, and we hope that certainly all your friends on campus are as well. Thanks for the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the latest from the campus of Florida State University, where at least 6 people have been injured after a mass shooting. The suspect there in custody right now.
And again, if you're just tuning in, welcome this afternoon. Terrific situation down at Florida State University in Tallahassee. An active shooter was reported around 12:20 Eastern. Students were in the classroom. They were near the student union, which was reported by police officers on the campus. An alert went out. They're saying there is an active shooter on campus, locked down. Shelter in place wherever you are, in a dorm, in a classroom. We do know that there was a sophomore, a student, telling the Tallahassee Democrat that when he got the alarm, there was a PA announcement in the lecture hall, as well an alert that came across his phone. We do know that then his professors in the lecture hall locked the doors down once officers arrived to those lecture halls, to those rooms, to the campus, which is a very large campus. You're talking about 30,000 plus students. They unlocked the doors. The officers, they escorted the students out. A former neighbor of mine, her student is a freshman there, currently locked down in his dorm. She reporting via text to me saying that there were 2 shooters at lunchtime at the student center. And if you've been on a college campus, that student center area, that student union center area is a busy time for lunch, people coming out of class, students gathering together. So an optimum point for an active shooter if he was looking for bodies. 2 shooters is what her son is reporting. 1 is dead, according to her son, who, again, attends the university, is a freshman. No official word yet from law enforcement. We do know that 6 are critically injured. We do know that there was 1 dead, but we want to update you on this. There could be more, but right now we know that 1 is dead. The other 6 are currently at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. But again, this coming from a friend of mine, a former neighbor. Her son attends the university, and he is locked down in his room right now, reporting to her at lunchtime. The student center, very calculated. Awful and sick is the word she's using. 2 shooters on campus. But again, we're officially hearing that 1 is in custody right now. We did hear from Jimmy Patronis earlier, the CFO of the state of Florida. He says that lawmakers are meeting down the street at the Capitol right now. President Trump as well alerted to this, making a comment about an hour ago saying it's a shame that things like this take place. It is horrible. We will continue our coverage of the Florida State University active shooter situation after this.
What's gold is new again. Pardon the pun. But considering gold has been used as currency since around 550 BCE, it has been on fire the past year. I'm here with Daniel Boston, the founder of Preserve Gold. Why is gold so stable and such a good investment for many people?
Take the central bank, for example, the Federal Reserve. They print money out of thin air, and then they take that printed money to go buy hard assets like gold to protect themselves against the very risks that they're creating. So I always tell people, don't do what the big players are telling you to do. Do what they're doing themselves.
Yeah, watch what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay. If people are interested in investing with Preserve Gold, how do they get started?
You can give us a call at our toll-free number, 844-407-6375. You can text Phil to 50505, or you can check out our website, www.drphilgold.com.
All right. No way you can miss it.
An important message for Americans age 50 to 85.
Oh my gosh, you're still using Mom's old coffee pot.
It's my inheritance.
Well, it is a family heirloom.
You know what? The kids can just sell it to pay for my funeral.
It's a good thing you have life insurance.
Life insurance with our family history.
Don't you know about Colonial Penn? It's guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance with no medical questions asked.
I'm on a fixed income.
Who isn't?
You have it?
We all do. John, Maria, even Paul with all of his medical problems.
Colonial Penn.
That's right. Colonial Penn Life Insurance Company. As you get older, your health may change. Colonial Penn understands that. And we don't think it should keep you from getting life insurance to help protect your family. That's why we guarantee acceptance to everyone aged 50 to 85. No health questions, no medical exam. Applying is easy. And you have your choice of options starting at $9.95 a month, a few dollars a week, 35 cents a day. And your price will never go up. A lifetime rate lock guarantees it. This protection can last a lifetime, too. Some insurance policies end once you reach a certain age. Not this one. Pay your bill, and it's yours to keep for as long as you'd like.
How did you apply?
Called for information, got an application, filled it out, sent it back. It took a few minutes. And look at this. They sent me this free beneficiary planner just for calling. I filled in all my important information and final wishes. Now my kids will have everything they need in one place.
Ready to learn more? Call for free information and your free gift. There's no obligation. Every policy we issue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. You have nothing to lose. Why wait? Call now.
Call 1-800-688-1483 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-688-1483. There's no obligation. 1-800-688-1483. Call now.
And welcome back, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Joe Gunn with this breaking news alert. About an hour and a half ago, 12:20 Eastern time, we got alerts of this breaking news. An emergency message went out that Florida State University in Tallahassee, the Tallahassee campus, there was an active shooter on campus. Not only did students receive this, but professors as well, surrounding businesses as well on the campus of that university, that there was an active shooter. As of right now, this is not confirmed through law enforcement. We are hearing that one is dead. We are also hearing that 6 have been sent to Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare Hospital there in Tallahassee. With 6 injured, we know that 1 is critical at this moment at 2:41 Eastern. We know that this has the campus continued to lock down around businesses and secondary schools around that campus. We do want to bring on, earlier we had the CFO, Jimmy Petronis of the state of Florida, telling us that at the Capitol, which is just right down the street, about a mile from Florida State campus and that university, that lawmakers are meeting right now. We know that the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, chiming in on the social media platform X, telling everyone our prayers are with the students there. We've seen video, and we do have video of the shots that rang out earlier, and we're going to bring that up right now. I want you to take a look at this one person standing there while everyone else is running. All right, so you saw that video right there. We heard from Garrett Harvey. He's a student on the campus earlier. He was sheltering in place, and we heard police, law enforcement coming in to his dorm, to the lecture halls, getting people out, having the students leave on campus once the officers were there. We know a lot of people are still sheltering in place. That young student, Garrett Harvey, used the term a calm fear. We want to bring in Jack Brewer right now. He's been on the phone with someone who is actually in lockdown at Florida State University. Jack, we appreciate you joining us. Tell us what you're hearing right now.
Yes,
the campus remains on lockdown.
Yeah, campus remain on lockdown. Some of the various areas they have secured and started to let some of the students go back to their dorms and go back to their apartments. But it's been, as you can imagine, a terrible scene. Actually, I have a close family friend who we look after down there and make sure she's okay. Thank God she's okay. And then we have an employee who actually is a fellow at Florida State University right now. He had a 1 p.m. class that started right in the area where the shooter was. And by the grace of God, we just put him on another assignment and he didn't go there. And so this is horrific. I mean, obviously, you're talking about a school with thousands of students that are going in and out of this area every day. And so to think that they have to experience something so horrific, it's just truly sad, man. We have a lot of evil going on in our world, and right now we need to all come together and seek God.
Yeah, that's true, Jack. We went to school about the same time. In the 80s and the 90s, right. Nothing like this. A lot of times there were some situations like this, but this is almost every day. We discussed this a couple of days ago or yesterday, the Dallas shooting at Wilmer Hutchins High School. Active shooters, right. It's a weekly thing. In fact, we're hearing a lot of people using terms like this of law enforcement, describing it as too experienced at this. And it's sad right. for, like you said, the students as well. What needs to happen, Jack, in your opinion?
I think we need to go back to the root causes of all these things. You need to go back to the way that we're raising our kids, the way that we've changed and redefined so many different things that used to be biblical and foundational to America. Things that our culture was built on. We've gotten so far away from it. We've gotten away from discipline. Kids aren't paddled in school anymore at an early age, and so parenting has really just slipped away. You have no real responsibility to discipline your children, and the things that they're getting access to at the age that they're getting access to it, their brains aren't fully developed, but yet you're putting this crazy music and this sinful and this violent music in their ears. They're turning on the TV and they're watching violence and they're watching God knows what every day. They're on social media. They can say and do and get access and see everything. We got to figure out a way in this country to start monitoring children and holding them accountable and holding our parents accountable who are raising these kids that are terrorizing our streets. Enough is enough.
Yeah, because, Jack, you and I both know this. We have law enforcement friends, but we know that this is going to get political. Someone's going to say something about guns and not enough about getting mental help. Do you believe that that's what it takes, getting kids the help they need, getting people like that, like I believe Jimmy Patronis used the word deranged individual who went on campus today. How do you get help for people who have sort of crossed that line to where they've already decided it's one of those situations, I'm just going to start shooting people?
It starts off with accountability. The reason why we have so many mental health issues is, one, we have a fatherlessness epidemic in our country, where kids don't have sound discipline in their lives growing up, and so their minds are allowed to just wander. And then there's no accountability. If there's accountability, you would be able to track and find people that start to have these type of fall off. Where their minds are slipping or they're saying the wrong things or doing the wrong things. Right now, we don't hold anyone accountable. And so unless we do that, we can't start to rehab them. We can't start to treat anybody, right? Because we have no resilience. The word resilience doesn't exist right now in this generation of America. They don't go through tough things. We hand these kids everything, and we don't make them earn it and be accountable again. And if you don't get back to the principles and raise up children in that way, you will have a nation in chaos, and things like this will just continue to happen.
Yeah, and there are going to be conversations around the dinner table about parents keeping their kids safe, dropping their kids off to campus, wondering if it's going to be the wild, wild west. Hey, if your state has open carry, guess what? When an active shooter shows up, Lisa, a freshman in the school and the business, she's just going to take a gun and start shooting people because she thought she saw someone shoot something. And all of a sudden, that's why kids are walking out with their hands up, because we don't know what you have on campus. And if it's a phone, if it's a gun, if it's a plaything, we're not quite sure right now. Let me get this from you, because I'm hearing from one of my family friends as well. The son is a freshman down there. From what you're hearing from people you're corresponding with on the campus, I'm hearing that there were actually 2 shooters, one dead and one in custody from my family friend. Are you hearing the same thing, that it started there at the activity center or the student union at lunchtime?
Yes, exactly. And I had someone actually stuck in the locker room. Actually, my best friend's daughter was on lockdown in the locker room, and I called her immediately when this thing hit and spoke to her for a couple minutes on the phone and tried to help calm her down. And that's exactly what she heard. She heard on the ground that there was multiple shooters. There was 2 to 3 shooters, and I heard that there was several folks that had got shot, and that was probably about 15 to 20 minutes ago.
All right, Jack Brewer, always a pleasure having you on. Thank you for your perspective.
Yes.
Joining us now is Owen Girard. He's a student witness to the shooting again at Florida State University. Earlier, around 12:20 is when the alert went out. I'm hearing right now, as we're watching video from my executive producer. Go ahead, Michael. Yeah. So, Owen Girard, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay. Well, tell us where you are and what happened today and when it happened.
Yes, sir. So I'm off campus right now. I was with my student organization tabling on Landis Green, which is just a big outside social area. We heard really the sound of popping. It honestly sounded like a jackhammer, about 20 or 30 pops in the distance. It sounded like construction, right? And then the next thing we know, everybody's yelling and screaming and telling us to run. So we just ran, and we got picked up from someone we know, and then we're off campus now.
Okay, Owen, who was telling? You said everyone was telling us to run, and they were screaming. Who, if you were off campus?
So we were on campus. We were on campus on Landis Green, and all the students started running in a certain direction and telling us to run because there was a shooter. So we ran off campus, got picked up, and now we're a safe ways away.
Owen, did you get an alert on your phone?
Yes, we got an alert as I was running. Got a text message, emails, all that.
All right, was that set up from the day you entered the campus your freshman year, that messages like that will go out?
Yes, and they do test messages. They're very they do a very good job. The school does with making sure that those test messages go out and that everybody can get them in a timely way.
We want to say, first of all, I should have started off with this, Owen. We're glad you're safe. We're glad that the students you're around are safe. What are you hearing from people who aren't in a situation like you, that are still on campus, in dorms, in lecture halls? What are they saying?
People are afraid, but they're starting to calm down now. We got a ton of friends. We got a ton of people out there, in the dorms. We had one student who was out there tabling with us. He didn't go the direction we did. He got into a building, into a dorm, but he didn't get into a dorm room, so he was stuck in a hallway for probably about an hour. He didn't know what was going on, so there was a lot of panic. There was a lot of uncertainty, but everybody that I'm aware of right now is safe. Of course, there's the 5 confirmed dead, I believe, and 4 injured. So we're just praying for them really, really hard right now, and just trying to get through this as a community.
Okay, so you just said I want to make sure I get this right. 5 confirmed dead and 4 injured still.
I believe that's what it was, and there was 2 shooters. One is dead, and one has been apprehended, I believe, is the last reporting.
And that's coming from local news, Owen?
That's coming from local news reported by law enforcement last time I checked, yes.
Okay. Tell me what the conversation you had with your parents. I'm sure they were reaching out to you.
Yes, so I notified everybody that is very close with me. Very briefly, very simply, I said, there is an active shooting on campus, but I want you to know I'm safe. I'm away from the danger. I wanted to, most importantly, make sure everybody knew that I was safe. So that's what I posted on social media, and that's what I texted people, and emphasizing the urgency.
Oh, and tell us about the large police presence there in law enforcement, the state, county, city. Tell us what that looks like on campus right now where you are.
Yeah, so everybody, when we were still on campus, when we were getting out, we were hiding for a little while. There was just sirens everywhere. Police were going everywhere. And then you start seeing notifications. Right now, FBI has been on campus. So you got a lot of police presence, a lot of law enforcement there, first responders. And we're so thankful for those people that are rushing into that situation. I'm actually with one student right now, or I was a minute ago, and he was talking about how he was walking towards the student union. He had his earbuds in, and the next thing he knows, the door opens and people are flooding out, telling him to run. So, I mean, there's some crazy close calls, and we're just thankful for the first responders and thankful that everybody we know at least is safe.
Yeah, and of course, our hearts going out. Parents getting phone calls right now regarding the deaths. Let's talk a little bit about last year. What grade are you in, Owen? Because there was an active shooter situation in 2024 as well, correct?
I'm not exactly certain about that, but yeah, no, I'm a senior here at Florida State. I'll be graduating over the summer.
All right, first person you contacted today, Owen, when this happened, because you said just a minute ago, you said it sounded like construction around the campus. Is that when you knew something was a little different and there was an active shooter, when you saw students running and alerting you?
Yes. Everybody starts flooding, right? They're running towards you, and they're like, run, there's a shooter. So we picked up and we ran. We just ran. Yeah, so that was the first contact really that I had with people, and the first time we realized it. Because, I mean, we were even briefly talking about it in the moments leading up to it. We're like, oh, that just sounds like construction or something.
Wow. And Owen, I have kids in college. I know that there are first day of school, they give you instructions on trying to be safe on campus. They want to make sure parents are well aware that campus is safe. Anything like that, as you can remember, think back your freshman year, what the school did, Florida State, what they did to alert you. Hey, if this happens, these are the steps you need to take.
Well, I know they have a lot of safety mechanisms and a lot of, again, they do a really great job texting people, alerting people where to go, what to do, shelter in place, things like that. Honestly, the only thing that was going through my mind, though, was just get away from wherever people were running from. So we just kept running. We just kept going until we got basically, like I said, to the outskirts of campus. And we were just hiding there until we were able to be picked up by someone we knew in a car. So that's really what it came down to. So my brain was really just focused on, surviving in that moment, right? So it's just getting off campus, getting away from everything.
Local media, you told us earlier that they're reporting 5 confirmed dead, that there were 2 active shooters. One is now dead. One is currently in custody. Do you know where they were shot and killed on campus?
So from what the rumors that I'm hearing, from things I'm hearing from students and from different things on social media, is that obviously they went, or at least one of them went into the student union, started shooting, and then tried to progress to a nearby classroom building. And that's as far as I'm concerned. That's really all I know about that. But yeah, so I'm really honestly not sure about the details about everything. It's just kind of all happening very suddenly. So it's really shocking.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Owen. Well, listen, we appreciate you joining us. Let me ask you this. Do you have school tomorrow? And if you don't, when will you feel safe to go back on campus? Because there's got to be some hesitancy next week when you return. And, of course, in the summer, like you just said, you'll be graduating in either May or August or December, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I'll be graduating at the beginning of August. Yeah, right now, I don't know how many students feel safe going back onto the campus. You got a lot of people. I fortunately live here in Tallahassee. My family's here in Tallahassee, but you got a lot of people from other parts of the country or other parts of the state that probably won't feel safe, so they're probably going to go home. I don't know what the school is going to do, and I'm really honestly not sure when I'm going to be ready to go back on there. But we're just going to have to see what happens.
Well, Owen, I appreciate you joining us. I know that earlier you said you spoke with your parents and they are safe. I know the capital of the state is right down the street. Are you hearing anything from the governor that we haven't heard, or local officials talking about just, remaining away from the school? Because I know the school put an announcement out that all classes and anything going on with sports events, that they have been canceled on the campus until Sunday. And, of course, obviously it's Holy Week and activities are going on. So I know it's a busy time there everywhere, not just there at Florida State. But are you hearing anything from local officials, the mayor, county officials, city officials?
Yeah, so I'm really staying focused on social media, trying to see who's saying what. Obviously, you have, legislators and members of Congress and really people all across the state and the country, sending their prayers, and with the ones who do have the ability, talking about what they're going to be able to do to help address the situation, elected officials and things like that. So I really appreciate, honestly, all of the commitment to standing with the Tallahassee community. It really means a lot. As far as specific things that they're saying in regards to the details of it, I'm not really sure. I think only time will tell. We're going to, whenever the police and law enforcement come out with more details and information at press briefings and things like that. But at the end of the day, I really just appreciate everybody, regardless of your political beliefs, coming together and saying,
Yep.
this has got to stop. This is unacceptable.
All right, Owen, Gerard, well, listen, I can tell you right now, those of us here at Dr. Phil's Merit TV, our prayers are with you and that entire campus as well, those that have been injured and those that have been reportedly confirmed dead and the families. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time to join us, obviously, in this crazy moment. Owen Gerard, an FSU student and senior, all the best to you, Owen, moving forward from here. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
All right, joining us now here on Dr. Phil's Merit TV, former LAPD officer Arif Halabi. We want to bring you in. I may have just screwed your name up, but obviously it's probably not the first time. We want to talk about your experience in this. First thing you thought when you thought, oh no, another active shooter on a school campus.
There's usually 2 different types of active shooters. There's often the one where it's targeted. They go after a specific person or group of people for various reasons, grudges, etc. And then there's just the random violence. I'm going to tell you, in both cases, you can almost never prevent them. If anybody wants to go after somebody, they can do it. And it's difficult. You see this happen. It's tragic. We see many, many universities and middle schools and high schools where the instructors now carry firearms. You have concealed carry in various janitors and other administrators. Maybe that would help eliminate it. I can tell you from a personal standpoint, the years on the Los Angeles Police Department, we have seen this happen over and over again. And it's often one or two people that are brave, sometimes selfless, sometimes sacrificial, who stand in the way and protect others.
Okay, so here's my question. I know it's going to seem, it's one of those questions where you say, how do you legislate hate? Because as we just heard from the CFO of the state of Florida, Jimmy Patronis, he said he used the term deranged and probably full of hate, these shooters. So how do you don't want the Wild West happening on our campuses, do you? Because my daughter is on a campus right now, a large campus, University of Georgia. Another one's going there in a year and a half. Another one graduated. So I'm familiar with that campus setting. What do you do to help make parents safe and go, you know what? I don't feel safe. It's just not happening for us.
It's actually teaching your kids to act like we used to act when we were in the police department, which was one thing. Never sit with your back towards the door. I still do that when I go out to eat with my wife and friends. I'm always watching the door, number one. Number two is always know your exits. Take a look around. If something happens, you need at least two exits, one in front, maybe one behind, left or right. And number three, make sure the kids know very carefully who they're giving their personal information, what time they come and go, access codes to their dorm rooms or to their cars. Very important to keep this in mind, because what you have is people that have this undercurrent grudge, or believe it or not, there are folks that have been prevented from going after others by one and two different events. Specifically this, they said, it just seemed like the person was a little bit more fit than I could handle. So being physically fit. But also, it's the idea of understanding that you're going to have evil in this world, and it exists. And I will tell you, evil exists. That's how we know God exists, simply because these men and women that decide to kill others, there's almost nothing you can do.
Well, that's disconcerting to know. Let me talk about, let's discuss the reaction. Earlier, about an hour ago, there were reports from certain media outlets saying that it took 40 minutes for law enforcement to get on campus and take out or arrest the active shooter. And now I'm hearing from a family friend that we were neighbors for 5 years. Her son attends the campus. He is reporting that there were two active shooters. One is dead, one is in custody near the student union. We're just hearing the latest update from law enforcement that there has been just one shooter, and that one shooter is in custody. So let's talk about the reaction from law enforcement. Yeah. Last year, 2024 in December, there was a school shooting at a Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin. That law enforcement team, those city officers, state, county, we were told that they were all there within minutes. Obviously, yes. A smaller campus. What is, I guess, the prerequisite, the protocol for officers? Because this isn't the first time this has happened at Florida State University. Last year, an active shooter, 2014, an active shooter. So you hate to say this, but they're used to it.
Yeah, and you're going to see training. The key to all of this is officers doing training. They train during the summer. They train during the breaks, winter breaks, which is Christmas time. They should go through and do active shooter trainings regularly. In fact, the more successful schools and campuses, churches, and other organizations actually do active shooter tests and reactionary movements with the students, with the administrators, because you want to see how they're going to react. And this is very important. Every one of these universities actually have somebody on campus that you would consider a police officer or a high-level security. This is not a normal campus where there'd be one old retired police officer sitting there watching people come and go. This has FSU has armed men and women that should be on campus within minutes. It's something you can't legislate. And I got to tell you this, there's a level of courage that the men and women that I worked with when I was on the Los Angeles Police Department, there's a level of courage that you didn't see everywhere else. In fact, these men and women were so courageous because they would do things for other people's children, other people's wives and husbands that nobody else would. Well, you have to have that same person. Just because you put a uniform on them, we saw that in Uvalde and other places where school shootings took place, and some of the men and women that wore the uniform didn't have the level of courage needed to go in, make decisions, execute, even put themselves in harm's way, because that's what we're supposed to do in law enforcement. So I don't know, we'll get a reaction later. We'll find out through what's called an after action report. After action report takes each group, each section, breaks it down, tells us what worked, what didn't work. And then they're supposed to do the next training based on that after action report. And that's the challenge. If they're not training regularly, if they're not in the classrooms, if they're not walking through with dimmed lights or no lights, getting a feel for the hallways, the classrooms, you have to train with people regularly. It's very important.
Yeah, we just heard, I'm glad you brought that up. We just heard a report that police will give an update in the next hour, which we will hold right here, that live press conference on Dr. Phil's Merit TV. RF, my question to you is, last question, if they've canceled everything on campus for the weekend going through Easter Sunday, what is your message for parents of students that attend Florida State University as far as hesitancy, as far as going back, because this semester is still going until, I believe, the middle of May. What's your message to parents about feeling safe and secure that their kids are going to be when they head back to campus? And not just that campus, any campus.
Yeah, all three of my children, I'm grateful, but have finished their college career. And in doing so, they were always taught the same principles. Know who your friends are, know the exits, know what you need to do to get out in an emergency, know what weapons you can find around you. It's very sad that you have to actually teach somebody in your family how to use a firearm or even a knife or a pocket knife, something that they can keep and protect. I'm talking about life or death situation. Number one choice, flee, get out. But you have to know your exits. You have to see your surroundings and look around to see what you can use. There are tables that you can flip over. I mean, we've seen movies, how people have hidden in closets. You can do almost anything. It's the fight, flight idea. But you have to teach your kids that, look, number one, this is going to happen. And it happens over and over again. It's now a normalcy for somebody that's 18, 20, 22 years old. Columbine was a history lesson for them as opposed to a reality like you and I may have led. And all the way through the school shootings that we've seen, they know it's possible. They just have to know, number one, what their surroundings are, who their friends are, and how to get out if they need to.
All right, former LAPD officer Arif Halaby, we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate your insight. We hate the fact that it's because of this happening again on campus that we had to bring you on, but we always appreciate the context you provide for us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
And thank you for joining us for this breaking news this afternoon right here on Dr. Phil's Merit TV. Stay with us now as we join Dr. Phil. True Crime in Progress. We'll be right back here later on in 1 hour for a police update to that school shooting at Florida State University earlier this afternoon. Thank you.
Same thing that happened to me as CC. Did she ask you that? Okay. So Bella's pretty smart.
I don't remember what I said.
Okay.
I don't know if I just said yes, like a horrible person, or if I just put that blanket over her too and did the same thing.
Same blanket, same way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She said, "No, Daddy," and that's the last thing she said.
And then he took her life.
That's why she fought and had the cuts and bit
Yeah,
her
well,
tongue.
she fought back to him.
She knew what was happening. I know it's worse than we even thought. We thought the worst was what we heard already. You know, we had no idea it was way worse than this. You know, we were hoping it would happen in our sleep or something.
Not that
know?
a 4-year-old watches her sister get killed.
I'm so very, very sorry. I just, you know, I've been doing this for 45 years. There's no category for this. This is just pure evil.
Work of the devil.
He put Shannon's body inside the cab.
And that floorboard on the floor. That's where they found all the
So
hair.
this is like a king cab?
That
has a
work
back
truck.
seat?
Yeah, 4-door.
So the girls were, their feet were on their mommy, but they thought she was sleeping or sick.
Yeah, well, you don't know what they thought, you know? You can only imagine.
Well, as a grandfather, I can't imagine.
Those are my grandchildren. I love them. They were mine.
What do you say to yourself about that?
There's many times that I just feel like giving up. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here.
I've talked to my wife, Robin, about this, and she sends her love, and she says, I absolutely know what haunts Sandy as a grandmother is hearing her daughter's voice in her head and hearing her grandchildren's voice in her head.
Dr. Phil, I felt my daughter's spirit the moment she died. Something woke me up, and I sat at the foot of, sat up, and a spear went through my forehead, and I heard the Holy Spirit say, Shannon. And I said, Holy, something happened to my daughter. I knew, I swear to God, I knew. I woke up Frankie, I woke up the whole house. I said, something's wrong with Shannon. I'm telling you, something's wrong. And
we didn't know she was missing yet, We didn't know anything.
But you knew.
She knows all the time. She's got intuition. I don't know how she knows these things.
So what did y'all think when she came to you and said this?
Oh,
I didn't
paranoid.
think anything of it. Yeah, I was like, Mom, you're just worried. She's probably sleeping.
Nothing of it. What did you learn about Nico at the time Shannon's life was taken?
We didn't know if it was a boy or girl yet. They had found out, but they were waiting to release it.
Thursday night they found out. Wow. And they were gonna do a coming out party of being a boy, but they put that on freeze because he was being
strange, distant.
Yeah.
And so the baby was alive when her life was taken?
Yes. And Chris was saying, to protect himself, that the baby wasn't his, and then they tried to say that the baby wasn't alive. So I had to give rights of my grandson to the place to prove that the baby was alive and it was Chris's.
And so there's a medical report now that confirms that?
Absolutely.
Yes. So we know now that the baby was alive.
Yes.
And the baby was Chris's.
Yes.
So we have 3 children murdered here, not 2.
That's right.
You had a real strong connection as a grandmother to Bella and Cece, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
We know that Cece was murdered with her blanket.
Yes.
That she loved so much.
Yes, yes.
Do you torture yourself with wondering what they were thinking in those final
Every
moments?
second of my life.
And what do you say to yourself?
That they were screaming for their mom and us. No doubt in my mind.
I dream about it all the time.
I say to Frankie every day, I bet you she was screaming for her Nana and her Uncle Frankie and her Papa. No doubt in my mind. We lived with them for 15 months. Our daughter had lupus, so I closed up my salon and moved to Colorado to help my daughter with Cece. So I was there in a heartbeat.
You may disagree with this, and I don't mean to impose my beliefs on anyone, but I do believe in afterlife awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that Shannon and Nico and Bella and Cece have access. And
Mm-hmm. What did they say to me when they came to see me?
have they?
Coming up.
She was at the bottom of the drum, and their skin was falling off as they were trying to get them out. They said, who's the one that wears the pull-up? And I said, that would be Cece. They said, well, then we have Cece.
My daughter went for her daily run the next day. They found her badly beaten, strangled. She was raped, and she was stuffed into a drain pipe.
Did you take the opportunity to view the body?
It was just really very hard to see her and to know what's actually happened to her. He's accused of committing a murder in his home country.
And committed multiple crimes once he was here.
11, 12, 13-year-old children are dying, and it's happening in every state.
That's tonight.
What should we do?
I'm going to cashnetusa.com. I can apply in minutes, and if approved, we can have the money as soon as the same business day.
Go to cashnetusa.com to apply for the money you need.
Dexcom G7 is one of the easiest ways to take better control of your diabetes. This small wearable replaces finger sticks, lowers A1C, and it's covered by Medicare.
Not managing your diabetes really a fix.
your health for the future. The older you get, the more complications you're gonna see.
I knew I couldn't ignore my diabetes anymore because it was causing my eyesight to go bad.
For my patients, getting on Dexcom G7 is the biggest eye-opener they've ever had.
I couldn't believe how easy it was. This small wearable sends my glucose numbers right to my phone or my receiver. With just a glance, I can see if I'm going high, low, or steady, so I can make quick decisions in the moment.
Now I'm a superstar. My A1C is 5.7.
My A1C has never been lower.
No other CGM system is more affordable for Medicare patients than Dexcom G7. Don't wait. Call now and talk to a real person.
Kevin paid off over $12,000 in credit card debt with the help of Consolidated Credit. They cut his interest rates and lowered his payments so he could pay off his debt fast. Call 800-786-4595 for a free consultation.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL and see the difference it can make in your life.
Buy one, get two free. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3, a value of more than $85. Call today and you pay only $39.95. Plus, you have nothing to lose because it's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee. Call now.
We now return to a Dr. Phil exclusive.
Holly Jolly Christmas? Holly Jolly? Sing. Pop. You talking to Papa?
Mommy.
And Mommy?
Yes.
Yep.
Mommy.
I do believe in afterlife awareness, and I do believe that Shanann and Nico and Bella and Cece have access and...
What did they say to me when they came to see me?
Have they?
Yes.
And what did Cece say?
The first night when they found Shannon's body, I'm gonna be honest with you, Dr. Phil. I was laying in the bed weeping so hard, talking to God, and I said, you know, I could just end my life now and go find my daughter. I had fallen asleep. The next morning, I get a phone call and they found Shannon's body. I said, do you want me to identify her on the phone? And he said, yeah, you could do that. And I said, is she beautiful? He said, yes. I said, does she have black hair? And he said, yes. And I said, then you have my daughter. That night, I was laying in bed and I just felt a presence, and I heard my daughter. I felt her, and I heard her say, I love you, Mommy, and I'm sorry. She told me she was at peace. I finally fell asleep with my daughter at my presence, and she slept with me. I just felt her. The following day, I get a phone call, and they said, Sandy, we found your granddaughter, but we're not sure which one. And I said, Bella's a little taller. She's pretty slimmer. She don't get a little belly. And if you pull her hair up a little bit, because I do their hair, and it would be so long, you know, and then I realized all the oil, they would never know. So they said, who's the one that wears a pull-up? Right. And I said, that would be Cece. They said, well, then we have Cece. And I said, well, keep going. I said, find my Bella. And 2 hours later, they did.
It was hard for them to even tell us. You know, you could hear it in their voices. I couldn't imagine trying to be in their shoes, trying to tell the parents what they just found. Yeah.
And it was 2 hours later that they said they had found
Yeah, she was
Bella.
at the bottom of the drum. And their skin was falling off as they were trying to get them out. everybody needed so much therapy after that. Our hearts just go out to all of them that work so damn hard on this case.
And you've felt Cece and Bella's presence.
I felt Cece's presence. She was first. And she goes, "Hi, Nana." And I could see her, but in my mind, you know, but I could hear her. And she said, "You've been always so good to us, Nana. And we love you with our soul." And I always took their face and kissed them all over. And she grabbed my face and just kissed me all over. And Shannon said, "It's okay now." And we gave kisses, and she turns her to her left. And then Bella came in, and Bella went like kind of like, "Hi, Nana," you know, just like the way she, I don't know, just the way she did it, yeah. And she said, "Guess what, Nana?" And I said, "What, Bella?" And she said, "I can go to Walt Disney World anytime I want." And I said, "That's right, Bella. That's right." She thanked us for loving her so much.
And that's how you remember those two?
Yes, after I saw Bella and Cece, and then Shannon was standing there. I could see her body, but like kind of like see-through, and then just her upper part turned, and then I couldn't see who was handing the baby to her, and she handed me my grandson, and looks just like Frankie. It's crazy, but looks just like Frankie. So he's beautiful. He's beautiful.
I'm so glad that you have that presence and that experience.
It saved my life.
It
saved my life.
Rather than the experience of just how they were found.
Mm-hmm.
As a father and a grandfather, how are you coping with this?
A lot of memories. I go to memories every day to see them all. It's not an easy day to go through every day now, because we found out what really happened, and to know that they fought for their lives. I hear my wife scream the night we found out that all this happened. I see therapy. She's helping. It's just an everyday struggle to get by.
So you've been told how it happened in the house and then at the site. What else did you learn from the tape?
Coming up.
I mean, Dr. Phil, what could be worse? I just pray to God in heaven that they were literally dead. I don't even think their bodies were cold enough to get in the oil. I think they were still warm.
Brace yourself. It's a Friday night doubleheader. First up, Corey's snapback cat and his San Antonio snipers.
All it takes is one punch.
Take aim at James Earl and the Houston Hitmen. Next, watch A.J. Graham and the Dallas Enforcers go to work against Amelia Moore and the Boston Butchers.
Oh, big right hand.
San Antonio versus Houston. Then, Dallas-Boston, tomorrow night at 9 on Merit TV.
Are you on Medicaid and in need of bladder control and incontinence products? Then stay tuned for a free offer from Active Style.
I'm embarrassed to go out in public because sometimes I have accidents. Can Medicaid help me with bladder control products? Can I get my bladder control products delivered at no cost to me? Is there a home delivery service for bladder control products?
How would you like to have all your incontinence supplies delivered discreetly right to your door at no cost to you? You can if you're Medicaid eligible, thanks to Active Style. At Active Style, we understand your needs and offer convenient home delivery of incontinence products for children and adults. When you call a personal consultant, someone like me will help you find the best bladder control supplies for you. Inside every product is a super absorbent core that turns liquid to gel and locks it away to help protect your skin and keep you dry. Your comfort and satisfaction are assured by our Get It Right guarantee. If the fit's not right, we'll send different products until you're completely satisfied. Plus, we'll handle all the details with your doctor and insurance. And your privacy is assured. Every order ships free right to your door in discreet boxes. Best of all, our caring and complete service costs you nothing if you're Medicaid eligible.
With Active Style, my bladder control worries are gone.
This is a special TV offer. If you're Medicaid eligible, you'll get our great caring service, our Get It Right guarantee, and a free sample. So please, call now.
If you're on Medicaid, call now for your free sample. Active Style is the easy, convenient way to get incontinence supplies shipped discreetly to your door